Let me just start by, I'm very honored to stand before you to be one of the guest speakers. When I looked at the lineup, I was very, even honored more because you have some great heavy hitters here this week, and I'm just honored to be here. Deborah and I went back and forth on what I was going to speak on, and so it was teaching our children how to give back, and also grieving in the workplace. So we decided yesterday after the television show, after we taped, that we would just do a little bit of both. And so today I'm going to share with you the two topics that is, important, I feel, in our lives. One I garner very close because it is fulfillment to my life, and that is giving back. And I would like to touch on today teaching our children how to give back. When we think of giving back, we automatically think in terms of giving money or giving some kind of material thing. But in my experience, after having 24 children in my home, nurturing them, I found that it was more than giving money or something physical. Let me tell you a story. I have two wonderful children. And every mother is supposed to say their children are wonderful. My children are truly wonderful. And they have never had the opportunity of living with mom and dad alone. We've always had children. At one time, I had 12 teenagers in the home at one time. And they have never complained once about having these children in the home. Instead, they always embrace these children as if they were their siblings. One of the things I realized about my children is that they gave every child in that home living with us support. And that is how they gave back. They supported them with encouragement. They lent an ear to listen. They were literally their cheerleaders, and when they was about to get in trouble, they came and warned them because they knew mom was a disciplinarian, and so they tried to fix them up and pat them up and, say, this is how it is. But I really admired that, and I learned that, support is like giving back. When you could encourage someone and you could be behind them, it is the same thing as giving back. And I felt like support is one of the greatest means of giving. Money, material things, we all appreciate them, but they're vanity. They come and they go. But you will always remember that person who supported you when someone said you couldn't do it, and they said, yes, you could do it. You won't forget that. You will always remember that person or those persons, how they supported you, how they believed in you, and how they began to even let you, even listen to you, and always stayed in your corner. That's something that you will always remember. Giving back is fulfillment for me. Even when I'm helping a child, and if I could just help one child, I used to try to save the world, but I realized that I couldn't save it. So now I realize if I just help one person, I'm accomplishing something. I talk about how my children helped, a lot of the kids, and a lot of the kids in the home came from difficult backgrounds. And I realized that my children even helped them and talked with them even through their pain and grief, which leads me to my next topic, grieving in the workplace. And sometimes oftentimes think of grieving, it was applied back earlier just to a death or, a terminal illness. But it has been redefined since then, and any kind of catastrophic loss. And today I'm talking about a loss of job, a loss of income, freedom, or even overlooked. Some of us women get overlooked for a position that we know we were much more qualified than that man, but yet we didn't get that position. You know, I was reading a book that Kubler and Ross had, and they had a motto, and they gave 5 stages of grief. The first one was denial. The second one was anger. The third one was bargaining. Then depression, and the last, acceptance. And we know, I don't know about you, that I have grieved in the workplace, but it's not the problem that counts, it's the solution. So when you grieve, you have to bounce back. Because if you don't bounce back, you won't attain your goal. Even if you are overlooked, and sometimes you are working in like our speaker before, Ronnie had said, you're working in a man's world sometimes. I could remember when my first job was driving the forklift, working in the warehouse. And I don't know, some of you who've been in San Diego for a long time know about the FedMart stores. Well, that was one of my first jobs, and I worked in the warehouse. And, you know, you didn't see women in the warehouse back in the early 80s. You always saw men. And so I was learning the job, and, you know, I had a boss, and he was a man, and, you know, he didn't particularly like me being back there because he thought I was small, and I was much smaller then. And he didn't think that I could do the job. And I remember, you know, when all the vendors would come in, you know, they'd make the little comments about, you know, me being back there. But, you know, I stood tall. It didn't matter what they thought. And, you know, I would tell, oh, you and I put on our pants the same way in the morning. It's no difference. You're just a male and I'm a female. So I would say, you know, you got to get used to it. But I remember when I learned how to drive the forklift, and you know, sometimes I was the only one there in the morning, and they said, we need to get a gentleman to come unload our truck. And I said, well, you need to look at me. And I'm not a gentleman, but I'm a lady, and I will be unloading your truck today. So it was very hard for them to get used to it, you know, because I was small, and, you know, again, it was sort of, you didn't see women in there. And then when I pulled up one day and I learned how to drive the 40-foot rigs. And so I was backing the rigs back, and they just about lost it. They could not believe it, you know, but I stood strong and I persevered. And the next thing you know, the manager had made me the warehouse manager. And they could not understand it, you know, why I was a warehouse manager. And he told them, if everybody could do their job like Alicia, I would have the best store in here. And so I persevered even with all the little things that went on, you know, and many times, you know, women deal with grief because of the glass ceiling. You heard Ronnie talk about the glass ceiling, which involves, one, being pushed onto a career path different from similarly trained and qualified male counterparts.